You're on.
Good evening. It is the 23rd of November. This is the meeting of the Tufton Borough Budget Committee meeting. We do have a quorum, and we'll begin with our pledge of allegiance, please. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Public input. Do we have any public input this evening? Forthcoming. A review of the November 9th minutes. Anything jump out to anybody?
I think they're pretty good.
I didn't see anything myself.
Mr. Chairman, I don't think these minutes are complete, and so I will not be approving them tonight.
Would you care to tell us, is there something missing? Or?
Well, I thought I made some comments at our last meeting regarding how the salaries for employees were being distributed. And I didn't ask for any action, but I did feel that the comments that I made were extremely important and pointed out a rather significant hardship that probably would be caused to employees. And I did feel that my comments were made in good faith and that they should be reflected in the minutes.
Very well. That's fine.
Got to leave the meeting, Gary, when you did that?
No, it was before the meeting was adjourned.
Yeah.
It's just at the very end.
That's fine. I can appreciate your point of view. We do have a motion, however, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
That's been moved and seconded. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes.
I
Let's
want to make sure
see.
you heard that there were two nays.
I beg your pardon?
I'd like to make sure that you heard that there were two nays.
I did, well, did Jane hear the 2 days? It's not important, but I heard it.
To be honest with you, I didn't hear what Gary said, but I'll listen to the tape recorder.
Okay. I have nothing for chairman's comments, so moving on to budget review. First this evening is planning and zoning. Anybody from the planning committee, so it's
18.
I'm just looking at the
Jane.
administrative assistant,
It's online. It's on YouTube.
and
Last week's meeting.
selectmen are asking for
One review his-
14,133, department head wanted
If you want to review
21,200.
his,
Seems like
on it.
14,133
It's
seems to
online.
be within line.
if you want to talk to that, speak to it, Chip, or?
Yeah, we have the secretary of the planning board is resigning. We're replacing the secretary of the planning board with Diane, who's currently working for us as administrative assistant. And we're
So you're reducing the hours of the administrative assistant. We haven't spent any money this year on the secretary,
right.
so I'm a little bit, it's kind of ambiguous as to what you're trying to accomplish.
Well, what we're trying to accomplish is actually having an administrative assistant that's there and effective, as well as replacing the current secretary of the planning board. And
Was that a position that we all rolled into one?
exactly,
So this administrative assistant will be the planning board secretary.
I'm sorry, yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
I mean, normally there's a planning board secretary, you know, zoning secretary,
right,
yeah. So this line is now the admin, which will be the replacement.
exactly.
So no more planning board secretary.
No, there isn't, well,
You have a line item for secretary, you have a line item for assistant. So when you take the $1,500 and add to the $14,133, and that's gonna be that position's salary?
Okay, last year, we had an administrative assistant, or we had a secretary of the planning board and an administrative assistant. So
Yes.
what we've done is we've taken that position of administrative assistant and placed it in the hands of one person. So that person will be responsible for all of the planning board administration work.
So that would be the case. Not to seem redundant, why do we still have a line item for $1,500 for secretary?
That's the ZBA.
So the ZBA is still gonna have a separate secretary.
Right.
Yeah?
Okay.
I'm sorry.
So the administrative assistant is only for the planning board, not for the zoning board?
Right.
So she's just gonna take on the added responsibility of a secretary, the
Right.
administrative assistant.
I guess, if you want to look at it that way, it's that it all had to get done, and now it's going to hopefully get done. And the reason there are two hourly wage scales below that line item is our estimation is that it will be 10 hours a week. We're still talking to the planning board about 15 hours a week. Is that, I'm gonna ask for help from my friend, Guy Pike.
What would you like to know?
What's that?
What would you like to know? We decided, in conference with the new employee, so to speak, that not only would she be available to take the minutes at the planning board meetings, but that there would be roughly 10 hours a week where she would be in the office doing paperwork and things like that, and available to members of the public to come in, present their paperwork, etc., ahead of time, get it reviewed, possibly make changes so that when it came to the planning board, they didn't have to say, well, okay, but you gotta do this, this, and this before we can do it. So we figured that having her up front and very open to the public with a set amount of hours would be a good thing to do.
Thank you.
I guess my only thing is, so I know she's technically the admin assistant now. Would it, I mean, and is it because of the pay grade that she's staying administrative assistant, or should she be planning board secretary? Because I mean, the planning board secretary technically would have done that anyway. Should have done that anyway. Be available to the public and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and so your question, this says administrative assistant under the planning board. It is the secretary,
All right.
okay? That's why it says administrative assistant, I don't know. Okay,
And the reason why I'm asking
Yeah.
is because of the pay grade. Is that why it's under administrative assistant versus being under planning board secretary?
I have no idea why the position names changed. Do you, Chip?
I don't, and that's why I'm a little confused, but I think it's just I know that the $14,000 was what we agreed to as far as the labeling of the position. I don't remember discussing that at any length, if at all.
So the difference between these two figures is she's going from 15 hours a week to 10.
No.
No, she's going to 25.
She's going to 25.
Well,
No.
No?
How could a selectman request 14,000 if she's going to? Well, who, the department head request 21.
I think that was based on previous, and now you have a new employee, and this is what you're putting her schedule at now. Am I right?
I'm trying to figure this out while I'm speaking. I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
I apologize. I think what this is when this came out, the department head was asking for the past. You've now since filled the position, so to speak,
right.
with this administrative assistant, we'll call it for right now, instead of the planning board secretary, and you have written out what the position will be and the hours will be. That 20,000 that the department head had previously asked for was for past. Now, it's been a change in the middle of budget season, and that's why the selectmen are now saying 14.1 as opposed to the 20. Am I getting that right?
I think so. But if I look at the 2021 Personnel Administration sheet, the position was listed as Administrative Assistant Planning, 4191 in 2021. So if it is listed as Administrative Assistant under the Planning Board in 2022, nothing has really changed in that position. It's the same thing.
Other than,
A new person and a different pay scale, yes.
yeah, and if you look at the narrative, which is like on the next to last page,
Yeah.
Planning Board estimates that it's gonna take 10 hours a week to do the planning board stuff.
Mhm.
And it's broken up over the number of meetings in a month.
Yep.
We're looking for an additional 5 hours of
Right.
in-office time.
And that's fine. I just was questioning the 21.2 versus the 14.133. I don't have any problem with 14.133.
Right.
It was the 21.2. Why was there such a difference? Now we know why. That was then, this is now 14.133. Makes sense.
Same thing, I had double.
Right.
Pardon my dullness, I'm just not getting any of this. On the memorandum, it refers to a figure of 10,992, which pops up as the 2021 budget. What bearing does the memorandum have to the $14,133.16?
It changes the action of the secretary, so the 10,992 number would be the planning board meetings.
Okay.
And taking minutes and doing all of that sort of thing.
Gotcha.
We've added to that 5 hours
Okay.
to accommodate the office time that we're looking for.
Gotcha. Okay.
But we didn't double it, which is what I think the 21.2 was.
Right.
Pretty close, I know.
Just on the postage, why does that jump up $1,200? Is that like
Well,
some of the requirements that we have to fulfill this year for mailing?
yeah, if you look at the extended number, which is the amount we spent this year, it's $2,742. So the $800 that was budgeted was not nowhere near enough. So we needed to come up a little closer to what reality was to what, what they're doing. They had a lot of development in 2021. And there's probably some significant stuff that's gonna happen in 2022.
Okay.
That one up.
Gotcha.
It's kind of, we can move down to ZBA public notices, which they've overspent by $175, so we move that number up by $200.
I guess my only other question is, I'm looking back at the 2016 through 2020 expenditures under the engineering fees. I believe they don't really use that anymore. I guess why do they have $2,000 when over the past 5 years they've spent under $1,000?
Wasn't that supposed to be offset by revenue? Engineering, I believe that one subdivision engineering fees has to be budgeted, but it's offset by revenue.
Yeah, it's an in and out. Why is it $2,000? It should be,
Yeah.
according to this, it should be $1,000. I mean, at most. I mean, 2019 it was 900, 2020 it was 664.50. I'm just throwing that out there. That's all. It's just, and like you said, it is technically an in and out, but
It is, and I'm not sure, and I am sure that the 2021 numbers have not been fully posted because it's at 0 on the
Yeah.
extended. But Matt was pretty adamant about that going, or remaining the same. So, not having any major problem.
Do we have a status on the master plan review?
Yeah,
So,
we're
master plan.
supposedly gonna get some sort of report in December,
In December?
so we'll certainly look forward to that. I know they sent out,
Didn't you say that last year?
yeah, I say it every year, it's sort of like wishing you a Merry Christmas. We
I
have
don't know,
to do, we'll have to do another one pretty soon.
We never see it for this one, right?
And then on the memorandum, we're also talking about some legal fees of $20,000. Now that goes somewhere else in the budget, or something. It doesn't pop up on.
Right, that's gonna be on the executive.
Exactly.
Right,
So we're not approving that tonight. No. Okay.
I think so. I think so. Maybe we could schedule it.
Yeah. No.
No. You may want to have done that, actually.
That's interesting.
Motion?
Sir?
I make a motion that we
We're
approve.
still looking at one item, Bob, the legal fees.
Yeah, we haven't done that yet.
Okay. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Make a motion to approve planning and zoning number 4191 in the amount of $31,368.
Second.
Moved and it's been seconded. Any further discussion? None forthcoming, those in favor, aye? Okay, moving on to government buildings. I really wish Penny was here tonight. She's out of town, because this particular line item every year really draws attention to what she was trying to point out as far as having some kind of spreadsheet as to what things really cost. This is the most, and I understand there are rules that we have to follow to keep the state happy, but I've never seen such a convoluted piece of misnamed poor nomenclature in my entire life. To which I will point out, for example, we have town office heat. Town office is fine. Townhouse electric, townhouse is fine.
Yeah.
Highway is fine. Library, one line, okay, we can understand that. Now we start getting into fire station electric, central fire station electric, Mirror Lake Station, Melvin Station. How come all of these cannot be put into, what is the fire station? Is the fire station referring to the central fire station? Is it referring to Mirror Lake? Is it referring to Melvin Village? It's really, really difficult to try to follow the way it's.
You're saying electric?
I'm just saying for everything. It's just, if we see fire station maintenance, we see fire station improvements, we see fire station electric.
Right.
Is
Which
that one or
one?
all?
Which one?
I went through this door and I circled all those. things.
Okay, good.
This is one, this is one, this is one.
All right, it wasn't just me.
No,
then.
And then you get further along, gee, this is not, actually, was that back here? No, it's not.
Yeah.
Is it because
It's
they're
almost
trying to
mind
track on
boggling.
an individual property basis?
Well, that's what you would like to see.
Yeah.
This is not doing that.
It is if you take each item out and,
Everything is pretty much okay, until transfer station's all right, that's easily understandable. The Davis Field, two items, but, I guess my point is, what is what? What is fire station? Is fire station Central Station, fire station Melvin, fire station Mirror Lake?
Well, fire
Should all
station,
three buildings be combined? And this is the fire department, this is how much it costs to keep. How
Well,
much
a perfect
the fire
problem,
department
yeah.
spent on
this guy,
instead
okay.
of divvying it up all over the place.
But what that does though, it also kind of covers over what the individual costs are for some of the separate
Right.
buildings. So
Right.
From time to time, that's kind of important information to know.
You're both right.
Yeah.
Okay, however, you know, there's gotta be a better nomenclature than just fire station.
Well, I think some footnote has to be added to each one of these line items
Yeah.
to.
Throw an ML, throw an MV.
I don't
throw
have
a
a
central.
problem with it because I guess, having been on the budget committee before, I was used to working with this, so I can see some.
Oh, I can understand it too. I'm just saying, if we're trying to explain, when it comes time to a public meeting, if somebody's looking at our paperwork, all right, and we're doing our due diligence,
Right.
it'd be nice to know exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And in the present format, it's very, very difficult, very, very convoluted.
I'm a little bit curious as to where these numbers come from. If you have a budget from the police department, it's obviously put together by the department head or the chief. Where do these numbers come from? They must come from 1,000 different places.
No, it comes from, I mean, we pay the bills all.
Okay, so
one
the selectmen,
place.
the selectmen sit down and look at the bills and.
Right, this is what, okay, so let's look at the line item that's in contention.
Okay.
Fire station electric, that's all of the fire stations, 3 of them.
All three of them, right?
We budgeted $1,960. We've spent so far $1,388, so we're gonna rate of travel of somewhere around $1,700.
Oh,
Right.
but down, okay. Fire station electric.
Yep,
So central fire station electric is different than all the fire stations.
no. That's the electric bill for the fire department.
The 1,900?
Right. So the rest of those numbers, the Melvin Village Fire Station, that's a heat number. Merrill Fire Station heat.
No, I'm talking about the central fire station electric down on page 2, 08410. It's 10,210.
There are 2 line items for fire station electric, in other words.
Yeah, I mean, so,
At least, find one.
yeah, this just came to me right now. And then it says central fire department electric, 10,210 is the budget. It's 876911 was the expended so far. And then on the front page, you're right, it says fire station electric. In 1960 budgeted, you're at 1388.54. You know, I get that, but that is, who is that? Is that, it can't be all, if Central Fire Department Electric is on page 2.
You know, it seems to me that, I know we're on a separate matter, we're trying to develop a total cost for, say, the fire department, inclusive of buildings. But for purposes of this particular budget in this format, I wonder if it would just be a small thing for the preparer, just as Kathy or Diane, to just simply add, let's say for the fire station electric, the very last line item on the first page, just add a -1, a -2, and a -3. The -1 being Melvin Village, the -2 being the central fire station, the -3 being Merrill Lake. And then you've got the information in the same format that we had it, but it's broken down a little bit further so we know exactly what's going on. My concern would be that, you know, we were promised certain efficiencies with the central fire station, and that was in recognition of the fact that the older buildings that we have are becoming more inefficient as time goes on. So it's a good idea to be able to see the breakdown. And without reinventing the wheel completely, we can get that information if we just have a further breakdown in this format. And I bet more than likely it can be accomplished with a couple of keystrokes.
Well, the fact of the matter is, if you look at electricity for the fire department,
Yeah,
it's the same account number
yeah.
in 2 different places.
Well, I'm saying add the -1, -2, and -3 so
Yeah.
that it, so that you get that breakdown.
Which doesn't make any sense. This is what really jumped out to me as to
And one's
Yeah, it's-
what
04
we're talking
and
about.
one's 08,
One's 08 and one's
One's
04.
Right.
right?
But
I think it's
that's
just
what
a
I'm
question
saying,
of-
but-
I think it's,
No, you're right, but you're right.
Hmm.
although I love to take blame for everything if I possibly can, I think this is just a case of the business. Because the Central Fire Department electric was added to the budget when the fire station was built.
Hmm?
That should have been added to the budget up on the first page.
Yes.
It should be, I mean, if they want to break down fire station electric for the other two, that's fine. But fire station electric for the central fire department should be right there with it. Having it at the end of the budget, I think is just a case of laziness.
I started the conversation, I really should have said, I don't mean this to be an accusatory, more of an interrogatory. Okay? How much is my interrogatory tells me that this is really a very convoluted way of showing this particular budget. I think, I'm saying that there's gotta be a better way that we can clean this up and dress it, that's all.
Right.
And
Chip, one other thing down there, 4,500 for installation in highway. Is that supposed to be insulation?
Where are you?
It says installation. If it's not insulation, it's installation of what?
Where are you, please?
page 1 or page 2?
It's on the,
Oh, adding 4,500 for installation.
419403. It says narrative for column 4, adding 4,500 for
Installation in highway
in
building.
highway.
Is it insulation or installation?
Insulation,
What is it?
Insulation.
thermal insulation.
Thermal insulation, okay.
Yeah.
I think, I'm gonna reiterate what Gordon just said. I think that this needs to be cleaned up and presented in our
And what is
format.
thermal
That needs to
insulation?
be,
Same thing you put in a house.
Fiberglass?
I'm just, yeah, it's just insulated with heat.
Okay.
Now that we've glossed over what we think is wrong, maybe we can ask a couple other questions. We have a line under townhouse improvements, heat and AC to the warrant article. Are we putting central air into this building? Are we changing the heating system in this building by warrant article? Or what are we trying to do?
you mean the 10.5?
4194-02730, which,
Okay, you're gonna have a chance to review that on the warrant article. What it originally had was revitalizing the boiler, or changing the heat system up and adding AC
okay,
to this building.
all right.
We took it out of the operating budget and said it's gotta go into.
It's going to be a warrant. I was looking more of a descriptor of what you have in mind for doing.
And
I'm perfectly happy to wait until-
We haven't reviewed the warrant articles yet.
That's fine, thank you.
No, that's where it's going.
So is that 10,500 not included in the grand total over here? Was it included in that for now? And it will come out for the warrant?
No, move all the way over to the column that says selectmen request.
No, it's not there for this
It's
year.
not there.
We have $500 in that line.
Okay, I'll keep it.
So the $10,000 is
Okay,
gonna
that's,
be
I got you.
somewhere else.
On the Central Fire Department improvements, we adding a overhead door or are we replacing an overhead door?
Rear overhead door installation is a replacement of the overhead door in the rear, on
Okay,
the restore side.
has it got, the door gone bad already? or-
It's, yeah, I guess it doesn't operate efficiently.
How old is this building?
8 years.
Not nearly old enough.
There's no warranty on that?
No, there isn't. There's no warranty on the heating system, there's no warranty on the doors.
A little bit of warranty, but after 8 years.
I don't know, I'm just saying,
The problem is water gets inside them and, you know.
I understand that, but that's interesting to say the least. Mm, yeah.
Who determines that all of a sudden, okay, we need a new door here?
Well, the fire chief came forward with that request, because they need to get in and out of that area.
And the door just wasn't
And
working?
it's not working, right? It's working, but it's not working every day.
Can't be repaired, you need new.
Right. I mean,
A lot of times with those doors, they can't replace a panel that easily, the door just never goes into alignment and works, so whoever's doing the
well,
work.
and a lot of it was purchased, I'm sorry to interrupt,
That's
but
it.
a lot of what was purchased for that building was proprietary, if you will, so It isn't as if you call the local overhead door company and ask them with a partial.
That too.
What encompasses the maintenance for a central fire department?
I'm sorry?
Maintenance, the last line.
So, Central Fire Department maintenance
Mhm.
involves all of the heating, cooling, electrical, doors, all of the components that make up the Central Fire Department.
The mechanical systems,
I'm sorry?
the mechanical systems.
Mechanical system.
I mean, the maintenance of the equipment within the building itself. It
Right.
doesn't include anything outside, no plowing, no nothing.
No, that includes plowing of the lot as well. So it's maintenance, maintaining the building. So maintaining access to the building as well as the operation of the building. It doesn't include lawn mowing, because we put that somewhere else for whatever reason. And it doesn't include the generator, because that's on a different line.
So it's $1,800 a month just to maintain.
I'm sorry.
It's $1,800 a month
Yep, just to maintain it.
just to
It isn't-
to maintain.
It isn't every month $1,800.
I know,
It's
I'm just saying,
big chunks now and then,
I'm just
but if you stretch it out, yeah.
not including the electric, not including the lawnmower.
Yep.
It also
A lot of
includes,
pumps in that building. There's a whole
I
The whole-
understand.
cistern system underneath the building, that sort of thing.
Right. Yeah, and you have all the radio systems, all the communications that are involved with.
And we also got software that we're gonna have to pay $3,300 a year
And
for
all that
on
software.
top, but that's not included in this either.
It has been increasing year to year, but not, increasing but not dramatically. It's gone from 17,800 in 2016 to 21,400 this year.
And I think the other thing that, and I'm gonna go back to the point where I think it would be good for Mr. Smith walking off the street, and then we'll go back to the spreadsheet. Because of the fact that we're looking at budgets that are, there is not one overall cost that we can assign, and I'm not picking on the fire department, we just happen to be looking at this right now. But it would be really handy to know what it's really actually costing us overall. Today, we're looking at electric and maintenance. Last week, we were looking at other things. And then there's gonna be more, for example, the planning board. Now we're gonna be looking at the legal at a different time for the planning board, because that's not included in that particular budget. And I understand, as Gordon said, that there's rules and regulations and you have to follow these. But overall, there could be something that could be prepared, because all of these numbers are available at any given point. What does it really cost for the fire departments? All three. What does it really cost to run the planning board? What does it cost to run the townhouse? Instead of having it here, there, and everywhere, because we see it, because we're reviewing it. And we could very easily on the side make our own spreadsheets. But I think it would just be more transparent to Mr. Voter to see what it's actually costing. That's just my opinion, but seeing these bits and pieces coming through, I just don't think it's fair to the public to have it just kind of, because we're sitting here and sometimes we're like, okay, well, what does this mean?
I've looked at these things for years. This is the one that really every year kind of jumps out at me, because I've been looking at the same format for so many years. And Penny really brought it to a head and saying, it'd be very nice to have a spreadsheet that shows, what's it, as you say, what's it costing for this department? What's it costing for that? Pulling them all together and sort of sitting down and an Excel spreadsheet.
It'd almost be nice to see that number first, and then you look at it and you go, okay, how did they get to that number? And go back in and delve into all these different things.
I think a lot of that can be accomplished by reorganizing this particular document. And normally, these would all be part of an overhead that's for some commercial company. Here we are looking at what the components are of the overhead. But it's just jumbled up enough so that we can't really keep it straight in mind as to which facility it's for. And that's what we want to try to
Yeah, and I appreciate, you know, we need clarity, but I mean, people need to put a little effort into what they're asking.
That's right.
I mean, I just sat here and in 2 minutes or 3 minutes, figured out that the operational cost for the fire department buildings is $35,708. It's not that hard to dig
You
it
can
out.
collect it.
If we want to dig out the personnel, we can do that. The part I struggle with, and I think could be clearer, but the state doesn't allow it for whatever bureaucratic reason, is the personnel cost. So I can figure out the wages pretty simply, but now I gotta add in the benefits, and the benefits is a one line item. And retirement is another one. So to do that is tough. So, you know, I always ask people to look at the whole budget and see how it looks for them, as opposed to try to micromanage. And just one last point on that is people I don't enjoy having people pick out one line item that they happen to have some expertise in and start lecturing us on how to run a business, run the government. It's a collective budget. It isn't a single line item budget. I mean, we look at all of them, but, you know, sure, you can maybe get I'm not picking on you, Chris. You could get a cheaper overhead door somewhere else. Well, we're gonna try to get a cheaper overhead door, but we need to get a number on the budget for today.
Oh, no, I understand that, and like I said, you know, and I understand your point as well, I completely understand it, but I think that overall, seeing all these pieces in the budget, you're right, it's not a one-line budget, you're 100% right, but I think there's a select number of people that look at this and, you know, and like you said, you just quickly put that together, but Joe Voter doesn't do that.
Right.
And it would be better for Joe Voter to have some kind of overall under these categories, and then maybe if they could pick out one line item, then they could, you know, have that narrative with it. But that's not really the point.
And maybe a selectmen's report that included gross costs. Okay, just so you know, this is what your police department costs you. It's fully funded, fully operational, fully staffed. This is what your fire department costs, this is what your transfer station costs. Pull the numbers out of the disparate budget so that, I don't know if that's helpful, I don't know if it's just another.
No, I mean, I think it would be helpful.
Yeah.
I think it would be extremely helpful, because that way, because we know voters are only gonna spend so much time looking at things, we know that, that's a
Right.
fact. But having an overall number for, you know, and then if they wanna look, that's when you say, here you go, then they can go through,
Yeah.
and when they have the questions. But something like that would be hugely helpful, I think. Just money's, there's a lot more money being spent now than there used to be, and that's the way it is.
I got this late yesterday afternoon.
Which one's that, I'm sorry?
Well, the
The one we're looking at?
No, I got the whole thing late yesterday afternoon.
Okay.
Because I was in Maine, I came home. So for me to go through all this, it's not 5 minutes, it's not 10 minutes, you know, you go through it and you start reading through it and I go, I gotta get through all this stuff before tomorrow. Of course, I gotta go to work in the morning, and work all day, but I can't sit at home, you know, like Bob, sit at home and figure this out.
That's a discussion you had with that guy over there, not with me.
Yeah.
I mean, we gave the budgets to the budget committee, and then the chairman decides, or I don't know how you do it collectively, decides what budget you're gonna look at tonight.
Yeah.
So if you don't think you're prepared to look at the budget, you need to talk to Gordon about it.
Well, I.
Well, we paired some things off tonight because-
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's,
Okay.
I know, what we were trying to do is get them all out to you as
Thank you,
fast as we
yes.
could. But it's the committee's decision to when to hear them, when to.
The other thing is, I don't know when these were available, but I wasn't around.
Friday.
And so you get the notice, you know, well, they were available on Friday, but you know, I was gone until Monday afternoon, so. And I'm not gonna sit there on my phone and try and read.
I've been a selectman for 5 years and I've never missed a meeting. Because I never leave Tuftonboro unless I'm going to Wolfboro or Conway. So maybe you should think about not going anywhere.
All right, well,
I haven't missed a meeting.
I think we've clearly established that.
If not, let's table it.
Okay, so the whole budget, I'm sorry, Gordon.
No, I'm saying, I think it would clearly establish the fact that something we feel needs to be done in the future. Are there any other relevant questions as to the bottom line on this one right now?
You know, the concept that they talk about the police station, kick the can down the line. We've been saying the same thing about this for several years, too. Kicking it down the line,
Well-
and here we are again, you know, scratching our heads, and we don't know if we want to scratch or not.
Yeah, but what you have to look at, and you can dissect this down to the penny, you've got an $8,308 increase year to year on this whole budget.
Oh, I-
So you're going from 138,000 to 141,000. That's our job, to drive that down below the 4% inflation rate or whatever is going on. So we're not kicking cans. Just so you know.
No, but there's been no change in the format, that's, I'm just speaking. of
Oh, the format,
Just
you're
the
absolutely
format.
right.
That's all.
And it, you know, we have to talk to the DRA.
We'll also be a little bit more proactive next summer to get something,
There you go. They'll only be in July, I suppose.
Yeah. at least for the format. Okay, do you have a motion?
I move that we approve government, general government buildings 4194 in the amount of my fingers here. I don't have any fingers. In the amount of $141,808.
I second it if everyone's comfortable with their understanding to vote on this tonight. Anyone disagree with that?
Well, are you seconding the motion, or are you,
I just
All right,
seconded it,
second-
subject to everyone
second,
understanding it
okay.
well enough to vote on
is
it.
there any other further discussion on this?
I think the numbers make sense, just how they're given to us. You know, I mean, there's no magic in put with any,
Can I second it?
you know, and
Mr. Moore?
So I'm questioning that. I'm not saying there's an increase in the budget because of the new addition, but that does not, what he said makes sense, but that does not correlate what this budget is saying. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do know what you're saying.
So,
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm not sure where you're getting the figures from.
well, that's what's on here. It's saying,
Right.
it's saying the selectmen approved a 67,175 other library budget line on 0168. And I would like to know why.
I don't know where that figure's coming from.
Also,
I don't know that we approved that figure. That's something that could be a typo for all I know, but it doesn't
I
sound.
mean, it makes more sense to me that it says 37,175. That would make sense. It would be an increase.
Right,
Like
yeah.
you had said, I mean, that would make sense to me. This makes no, this is a huge increase.
See, I also have, when you mentioned the total budget for 2020, I had a different figure than what you mentioned too.
yeah, it's like, it kind of popped out of me to us, it seems like. That's a
That-
lot, and I just hope, is there a reason why it was there?
No, like I had the total proposed budget in 2020 was $225,604 was the total proposed in 2020.
What did you say?
$2,025, $225,604.
Yeah.
477.
Last year was 216,747. So we're
Yep, we've got that.
216,747 was
2021. Yes.
correct.
For
And then
2022.
2020,
I mean,
225.
Well, if you look at your worksheets, these pages in the back, you're asking for $207,765. Plus the 16, is even that number's not the same, 223,935.
this,
If you add the revenue back in.
right, I'm just saying, I think this needs to be
Actually,
relooked at. I don't think this is a correct budget to be reviewing tonight.
I have kind of a general question. The format that we're being asked to review in this budget is quite different than all the other budgets that we look at. The first 2 pages are lump sum amounts. And I'm just wondering why we can't get the same information in this format. as in-
Because you don't have the authority to vote on the lines of the budget for the library.
It's a separate
The
entity.
library trustees established that, so this is an ask,
Yeah,
that's all it is.
but nevertheless, I'm not asking for authority to approve the line items. I'm asking for authority to approve the lump sum total, subject to my understanding of where those numbers come from and what the trend is in prior years. And that information is not being given to me as it is for other departments. So I'm not proposing that I do something that's not permitted, I'm just proposing to get information as we're accustomed to getting for other departments.
Well, what information are you looking for? It's not-
Well, I'll give you an example. Every line item on this memorandum could be broken down as per the designations on the first page, the column headings, and I could also see the expenditures year by year. And I really want to see the trend of what's going on. As a matter of fact, all the questions that are being asked tonight are, what's this increase for and where's it coming from? That can only be answered by looking at what the trend is from year to year. So I'm in the blind on this, I feel.
You're-
I see Chris is making some effort too.
If you go to the first page after the spreadsheets,
Yeah, I get it for this year,
the 2022 proposed budget,
right. So
showing
I think
increase in
that-
salary, showing increase in electricity,
Yes,
and then telephone.
but
and
what's the
maintenance.
history for each one of those? What's the trend? You know, what are we looking at here? And I think that that's part of our job, you know, the realism of what you're asking for today is based upon how the increases are coming year after year. You know, we look at a different reason for the electricity to be higher, or a different reason for the salaries to be lower, okay? I don't have that information. All I've got it for is this year.
All right, that's,
And I think that's a fair criticism, I really do. So could we get that?
You want it just for the new building,
One for the library.
but
It's a library budget.
what does it tell you to go beyond the old building into the new building? What are you gonna decipher from that?
Well, I think mentally I can calculate the fact that some costs are gonna change enormously because we have a new building. But on the other hand, we're gonna start looking at a trend for the new building over time. So let's start getting this information put down in the same form that we're getting it now for other departments.
So you want,
so you want,
a
so
trend.
you would want to see, a spreadsheet
Just as we get it for other departments.
going back to show that what the supplies were 5 years ago,
Sure.
what
Well,
the heat
just-
was 5 years ago.
We do it for every other department, and we don't.
I'm asking you,
Yes,
because I'm not,
Yes, I'm answering.
because this is obviously not gonna be done by the town.
I know.
This is something that our staff is
Well,
gonna
I
do.
think, on the other hand, it's a report that is completely identical in format to all the other reports that we're doing. So yes, there will be some extra effort to prepare it, but on the other hand, it's not new. It's not a new invention or anything like that.
So how far back now do you want to see?
Just like we're doing for all the other departments. Presently, we're looking at 2016 through 2020.
Okay.
All right, really, again, I'm not trying to approve each line item. As a matter of fact, I can hardly remember any time that we approved a budget subject to some particular line item being changed. We generally approve the bottom line, or we disagree with the bottom line and we don't approve it. That's about as far as it goes. But we really don't know what we're doing here with this budget, at least not from any historical perspective. That would be my suggestion.
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of concur with Gary a little bit, but if you do look at the historical expenditure as a big number, not as individual numbers, so you can actually track where the issues are. We had a $24,000 increase from 20 to 21, a $6,800 increase from 18 to 19 to 20, I'm sorry. And we're currently looking at a $14,900 increase from 21 to 22.
You mean the overall budget?
I'm only suggesting that we do the same
Yeah,
due diligence on this as we do on all the other budgets.
That's something we'll have to.
Okay.
where
have
are we
to
gonna,
work
where are
out
we
the
gonna
town.
do the cut between the old versus the new?
2016 through 2020.
Yeah, 5 years.
And, 5 years from now, we'll be doing it 2020 through 2026. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just like we do.
Well, I can understand your point, but and that can be accomplished. I mean, that's a simple spreadsheet,
Yeah.
but you're not looking at apples and apples. But I can tell you right now that our line item for postage probably has not changed in 5 years. But, and so if you're gonna start with the heat, the difference, I can tell you what the difference is gonna be right now.
Yeah, but look, we're never looking at apples to apples, okay? We have a new police facility that's coming online. That's gonna be a change. We have a new central fire station that came online, but we're still looking at historical figures.
Well, and that's something in all fairness, should be done at town hall rather than from downtown.
That's not my position. I can't-
If you want to have the same format,
Right.
going straight across the board.
It would be nice, I think, if town hall could lend assistance to the library.
Yeah, and I can't answer whether or not they have it itemized the way Dennis has it, so I'll look into that.
I'd like the motion that we just table this for now, and maybe we can pick it up later when such report is ready.
Is this going to be something that we're going to be able to, is this something the town is,
When's the next?
the 14th? 14th of December.
I would, well, I'll have an, when are we meeting again? I think it's.
I'm gonna have
is it a week from yesterday?
I believe so.
Okay.
The holidays.
So the Monday after Thanksgiving, we'll meet, at which point I'll be able to answer the question of whether we can create it. If we have that itemized list.
Maybe we could just look into the 67,000.
The DRA.
We can do that would help, because I'm just like,
I'm really trying to figure out that's.
Are these the same figures that you have? 'Cause
Could I take the
last-
chair title for a moment?
what?
Might I have the opportunity to ask a question?
Yes,
Thank you. Chris, you're saying the library budget is 67,000?
The request on here
Yes,
for 2022, they're asking for 67,175.
right. And the budget that was approved for 2021 was 63,358.
Right, but you look back through.
But
the question
how
is,
did, why did it go from 35 and they've only spent 35 so far this year too?
It does show that they did expend the 35 in 2020. Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
And then the 2021 expended so far as of November is 35,000, even though the
Right.
budget was approved for 63. That's a huge discrepancy.
Yep. This is just for my own
Yep.
head, so I make sure I get
That's.
it. Thank you, Your Honor.
We
I
could
just-
call it a change.
I'd like to see something a little more.
And if it's possible for the office to do it, I'll make sure that we do it. I just won't know until Monday.
Right.
Well, I have a motion to table it.
there's a motion to table, is there a second?
Second?
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll table.
Sorry, guys. That's okay, I understand.
You gotta come back. then.
I understand, I mean, we have
We'll
budget comparisons from proposed budget.
Well,
I mean, it's the system we've always used, but I know what you're looking at. Yeah, so,
and we in turn,
yeah.
if it can't be done by the time we bring this back up, we'll have something.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I'm just more curious about that number. That number just seems,
That's fine.
I've always been puzzled by the town and library differences. The library's run this way now. The only thing in town that is all on its own.
I refer to it as a quasi-public-private relationship. So, but
And
that's,
that's to prevent people like me, and I would never do it, but people like me defunding the library.
thank you.
Like,
Thank you.
getting a particular election that drives defunding of the library. That's what that's trying to avoid.
okay then. Moving on then to other highways. Which is docks and bridges.
What's on the agenda for docks and bridges this year, Chip?
The same thing that we generally do for docks and bridges, which is the bubblers at the docks. I don't think there's a bridge project. No, we didn't increase that. We don't have, we've moved so much of what we're gonna do here. You'll notice that the line for permitting expenses is no longer on there, because we moved that, whatever permitting expenses that we're gonna do, for instance, that 19-mile pier, into the warrant, so that that'll be all encompassed in the warrant article.
So this answers my question.
So this is almost maintenance of things
Right,
every year.
right, and having some money in case, I mean, we did have a flood this year, which drove this number up to $7,500 expended, but that was just a rain event that happened at the end of Dane Road. So, things like that, we need to budget
Down on Bill
in
Williams.
expectation of something happening.
Is that down on Bill Williams, was there a flood
Yeah.
down there?
Yes. But as I said, most of the money involved in docks and highways are warrant items.
I move acceptance of general fund 4313 in the amount of $5,000.
Moved in second. Anything else to say? Those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the last one is health services, or health agencies, excuse me.
I just have one question.
Sure.
I'm not arguing with the budget at all. How do we determine this list? How does the town
This-
determine the list?
These are the asks. So unless, let's pick one, let's say Life Ministries,
Mhm.
they need to ask us for a donation to their particular charitable operation.
So they just come to you?
Right, well, they actually put in writing, they don't come in.
Yeah.
and-
They
Exactly.
come to the
But
town?
we've eliminated some over the time I've been a selectman, and we've added a couple, so if they don't ask, then they don't get put on here.
Were there in fact some that you denied this year?
No, I don't believe we did deny any, although I have a problem with Life Ministries and their religious connections.
I'm just wondering how you, and how you check out these nonprofits. Because there's a couple in here that, if you do a little investigating, aren't really quite what they seem. So I was just wondering how the town got.
Well, no, and we do put the staff into the business of, what's your record? For instance, when White Horse went on, we wanted to know exactly where their money's going, or what other funding they had. We did have, and I think it was Blue Moon, there's one, where I knew exactly how much money the county was giving them. You can't dip twice if you're gonna, because we pay a county tax as well. So you're gonna go to some taxing authority for your donation, and it's not gonna be the town and the county, for instance. So we do vet them as much as we possibly can. A lot of these have been on for quite some time. I mean, the Kingswood Youth Center.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm, what is it?
Don't they also indicate in their letters of request the number of people that they serve from Tufton Borough?
Right, we did ask, they don't do that annually for whatever reason, because they do it when we ask them to do it. They did that in 2019, because we asked them to verify that we actually getting some benefit from it. And we also,
The Red Cross won't do that, though.
no. But, although it's hard to parse it out of here, if you look at our welfare budget, which is really underspent, and even during the pandemic has been underspent, a lot of these people are picking up that slack, as well as the Melbourne Church, for instance, and others in the community.
Well, I have no problem with being philanthropic here with the town. I just,
Yeah.
like I said, there's just a couple on there that.
Well, and if you have a concern, obviously bring it to us, because we can't know everybody.
Right. But no, I think, and there's a couple in here that I'm glad you're increasing because they need to be increased,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I'm gonna support this 100%, and I'm not trying to make a statement that would require a motion here, but I do feel that we should be getting some sort of a thank you / report letter from anyone that we give money to. And even if it just simply says, and I'll use Meals on Wheels only as an example, we provided 800 meals this year, 50 more, and we're sure that your money helped us provide more. I mean, we ought to be just getting something.
Well,
Again, I'm not going to say that we should make this a requirement,
we do get,
some.
in the letter of request, we do get
Oh, all right.
that kind of gross information.
Yeah.
But I think to ask our 501c3 to itemize what benefit your town has received is maybe adding another half a person on their payroll, which they don't need to do.
So when we get the request, there's some justification
Right.
that they deliver it.
We used to get copies of those letters as backup.
Oh, really?
And
I can
it was,
picture those.
it was
I'm
that
happy.
thick and,
I'm happy that you say that we got them, that's fine. I'm all set.
And it's all public information.
Chip, when they put it in a request, they say, like, say 68 hours of hunger, they've been about $2,500 forever. And then they went to 4,000 this year.
Right.
Did they ask for the money, said we want
That was one where they did ask for a significant increase, and they did justify that increase.
Yeah, and that one I can speak to, yeah, there's a huge justification for that this year,
Right.
yeah.
Because they do a lot of fundraising on their own too, because I've heard
Right.
gals
They do
outside
spend a
Harvest
lot.
Market a million times. I can't think, Barry, come over here.
All of these organizations, you know, have multiple fingers out too.
Oh, yeah,
They're
they
not
do.
the only people that
And
they're.
that's, I mean, that's a local one that doesn't
Yeah.
have a
Yeah.
bureaucratic structure.
No,
Like
it's
the
a
American Red
great
Cross,
program.
how much of your dollar's actually going to benefit? That's what it's-
Yeah, overhead. I believe that.
Yeah, I don't think the CEO, N68 was a hundred to six-figure salary guy. Probably just a volunteer.
They all are.
Are you getting grumpy over there? or-
No, I'm saying, hell, they're on my list. All right, do we have a motion on this one?
I move that we approve general fund health agencies 4415 in the amount of $42,165.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Forthcoming, those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, that takes care of our line items for this evening. Nobody has written to us, so I have nothing to correspond on. Chip? Anything from the board?
With the exception of the library, which I guess is we're gonna revisit, we've gotten all of the operating budgets done. Hopefully they've all come to you in some form, or in a proper form. I know that Bill Marcus has been running a tally on it. I haven't. I should know that it's done. So my plan is that the next budget, we need to talk about the gross budget, if you will. I doubt, well, no, the 14th is our next meeting, so
Yeah.
we should have some warrant articles for you by then.
Right.
So our goal was to complete the operating budget by Thanksgiving, and our next goal was to complete the whole budget before Christmas, which gives you folks the opportunity to have a nice holiday, but also the month of January, or the bulk of the month of January, to have any further discussions. We also don't know, and we're also gonna get a report from the architects and builders for the police department. That's due the 1st of December, so I should be able to report on that at our next meeting as well. So if that's gonna be a warrant article, I know that the police chief went to CIP to get a second cruiser, which we denied him. I don't know how that worked out, whether or not CIP.
If I may speak to that, he
He's
pulled that request away from the CIP committee as well. He didn't present it at all.
All right. Yeah, because our feeling was, 2 police cruisers in the police station 1 year is gonna be tough to do, if not unreasonable. And I mentioned the second officer being a warrant article, talking about that. And we're looking forward to whatever infrastructure money might come our way, and I think there might be some, so that's gonna impact the police station, it's gonna impact our Tufton Neck Bridge, for instance, which is now somewhere out in the 2030s on the state list. And we did, I wasn't at the meeting, so I'm gonna ask if I can let Guy speak to the Union Wharf
Bill and I went down to Union Wharf and met with representatives from DES, Representative Joe Kenny, Representative Brody Deshays, our Representative Tyler Phillips from Headwaters and our design for Union Wharf. Went over that with a fine-tooth comb of what we'd like to do and different possible approaches, but the general feeling was that if we're granted the, what I believe is called the grant in right, which is kind of dependent on our application, things should go fairly smoothly and we would be actually achieve the grant in right and be able to move forward with the project. Everything seemed very favorable, and I can't remember the guy's name from the Department of Justice there, but
Department of Justice?
yeah, AG's office.
Oh, I don't know.
Young fellow, but he was very helpful, and Tyler Phillips is working now to get the actual design and the application thing into them. So it looked finally pretty favorable that we might actually have a chance to get that and get things moving. So that may become a warrant article too, or should become a warrant article. We'll see.
That's a 245,000.
45. It's looking good though.
And that also could benefit from infrastructure money as well. So
Right.
that'll work out. The grant and right, if you're not clear on what that is that when the Department of Environmental Services took the Lake Winnipesaukee, the ownership of the lake and the lake bed from the Commitee and the balloon mills that owned the dam and took it under state aegis, they granted every permanent structure over the water a grant in right. And that includes, Elkins Boathouse and the Wolfboro Town Dock and all that sort of thing. And for whatever reason, and I won't, ascribe any sort of evil intent to it, but for whatever reason, Union Wharf did not get a grant in right. It was overlooked. And so we provided the state and the executive council with copious historical references to the dock and when it was built and how it's been used. Now it's up to the executive council to decide whether or not to grant us that grant in right or give us that grant in right. Without it, we're constrained to exactly the footprint that's on the lake bed. With it, we can now, because if we do, if we do a repair within the footprint that's on the lake bed right now, we get a permit for that, and that becomes a permitted structure by DES. That's an extensive permitting process. If we get a grant in right, we already own that, so we don't have to get a permit for that. Now, if we get the permit for the 6 or 8 or 10 inches of expansion around the perimeter, right?
Yeah.
So that's a big one. Just to give you a heads up, we've split the paving up into local paving and through road paving, so neighborhood paving and larger road paving. That's going to happen. As I mentioned earlier, the police officer that the chief wants is going to end up being a warrant article. But encompassed in all of this, we know that we've got a fire truck that's going to happen in years down the stretch. We know that there's a loader that's going to be needed at the transfer station. And so our goal is to try to keep within the numbers that we had, for instance, last year, and have some capital reserve accounts started, to anticipate those expenses. That's our long-term, short-term goal.
Anything with the Lakeway, will that benefit from any of this infrastructure with the bulkheads and down along the Lake Street?
Right, that's the other half of the project, if you will, that the town has designed.
Okay.
I don't know that Lake Street's going to be in 2022, but it's definitely going to be by 2023 or 4. So.
That being that,
Is any kind of an office that's going to be established by the infrastructure money that's
No.
supposed to be coming out of
I was happy to hear from the governor of Maine. It's not going to be a political process, but I can't, I don't have that same feeling about New Hampshire.
Okay.
That was so Duchesne's, not to keep you here all night, representative for Wolfboro came to our meeting on Friday after the meeting at the
Brody?
Brody, right, and informed us that through redistricting, they've,
He's gonna be our
they're
representative.
gonna gather Tuftonboro into Wolfboro's wings,
Yep.
to be nice about it, because we need to get the Republican centers of Marlborough, Wolfboro, and Wakefield, as many of these little towns under their wings. But at any rate, not to get political,
Right.
at any rate, I got a $27,000 or $23,000 savings in our health insurance this year, which I thought was doing my job.
Congratulations.
Well, the state retirement system went up $27,000, so it
Oh.
completely eliminated any savings. So
Sounds like Medicare.
that's the, yeah, unfortunately, it's New Hampshire, and it's passing down the expense to the local governments. So that's the difference. When you move to Maine, what you'll find is your local tax rate's pretty good. But it's because there's other taxes that the state's using to pay for these big expenses like retirement, highways, and that kind of thing. We don't do that here in New Hampshire, but I did.
Because you're assuming I'm moving to Maine too. I'm probably not.
All right. I was gonna remind you of that meeting.
You may want me to go on that. I'm probably still gonna be in Tuftonboro.
It's a good place to be. It's got a good tax rate, and you know,
It's gonna be summer.
Chip, are you still getting figures in December on the police station?
Yeah.
For those slowly.
Yeah, I'm hoping that with all the money sitting there, I'm hoping that we get a police station. If we need another $50,000 or $100,000 to make it happen, that money's available through grant funding.
December might be a good time to build that now, or
Yeah, I know.
supply chain issues and this, that, and the other thing.
There's always gonna be something.
You know?
There's always gonna be something.
Yeah, I mean, it's a mess.
Any other business?
Move we adjourn?
Who's second? Favor aye? Hope everybody has a happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Happy Thanksgiving.